This video is about achieving 10 marks on the reliability question, so that's the second of the 10 markers on the Unit 3 paper. So what do you have to do in this question? You need to evaluate how reliable two sources are through considering both the information, the content contained within the source and comparing that to your knowledge, and also considering nature, origin, purpose. Nature, what is the source, newspaper, diary, etc. Origin, who is saying it. Purpose, why are they saying this? Why has this source been produced? So some general quick tips on this sort of question. Firstly, photographs. They show us something that happened, so we're not really going to doubt what it contains. What we need to think about with photographs is how typical is that? Is it representative of what is going on a wider scale, or is it just showing me one moment in one place that's not representative of the issue at stake? Never ever say the camera never lies. It's overly simplistic and ultimately untrue. Another quick tip, political cartoons. They are necessarily one-sided and designed to make a particular point. However, that doesn't mean the point they're making isn't true, so you don't have to discount it immediately, but just be aware it's never going to be the complete picture. It's always going to have a purpose driving it, so its reliability will be affected. Also, during World War II, the Ministry of Information was censoring anything that was going to the public. Newspapers, radio broadcasts and so on. They're also producing a hefty amount of propaganda, posters, etc. This isn't going to impact on things like diaries, but it is going to impact on anything publicly available. So it's something useful to talk about that shows your own knowledge about this period of history. So anything between 1939 and 1945, have a think if the Ministry of Information had anything to do with it that would affect the reliability. Another common mistake that students will make is the overly simplified, it's a long time after the event, therefore it's not reliable. Well, this isn't necessarily the case. There's a few things to consider. During the war, people wouldn't have been as free to say what they wanted. They might not have been able to talk about what they were doing, or they may not have wanted to upset their loved ones or the people that they work with. When they're older, they might be more willing to open up to talk to a new generation. There's going to be no comeback on them because the war's not going on anymore. Furthermore, the idea that people are going to forget things when they get old is possibly true, but more so if we're talking about things like what they had for breakfast. Life-changing experiences like storming the beaches at Normandy or escaping at Dunkirk are not the sort of thing you're going to forget about no matter how old you get. So, let's look at an actual question. What does the question ask you to do? We're going to work with evacuation. So, how reliable are sources D&E? As evidence of how organised evacuation was, not in general, on this particular issue, and that's important that you stay focused on for the organisation of evacuation. You're also required to use your own knowledge. That's largely going to be to compare to the content of the source and also to show you know something about who's saying it and why. So, there's no need to compare the sources on this question, even though you're doing it for two. You don't need to say which is the most reliable, so you're effectively writing two almost separate answers, one paragraph for each source. So we're going to work with this photograph, which you can get the gist of even if I don't move. This is taken in London 1939, showing us some evacuees. So, the content of this source. It's pretty reliable, it matches what I know about the organisation of evacuation. What is that? I know that they're labelled, they're escorted to the train by adults, I know that happened. What about the nature, origin and purpose? Well, I'm a bit dubious about this because of what I was saying earlier. I don't think this is necessarily indicative of all evacuations across the country. I've got no idea what the students have got in those bags. They may not be as organised as they look. They could be carrying anything if this was done in a rush. And this photo was probably taken by a government official or someone from the school, but somebody who has an interest in showing this to be an organised evacuation. So I need to put that together into an answer. A simple answer would be one of these. It's reliable because it's a photo and the camera never lies. That's a poor answer. Or it's reliable because it shows children being evacuated, it looks organised, this matches my knowledge. Both of those are level 1 answers. The top one is about the nature, origin, purpose. The second one is about the content. The second one's no good because you haven't shown me any of your knowledge, you just claimed you've got it. So to get into level 2, it's either content or nature, origin, purpose. If you're only talking about one thing, you're going to be in level 2. So this is a model level 2 answer about the content. You can pause the video and have a read of what that looks like. This is a level 2 answer about the nature, origin and purpose. Again, pause, have a read, what does that look like? If you put the two together, you're going to be getting into level 3. Furthermore, at level 3, you need to make sure you're explaining the impact these things have on the reliability. You can't just say it is or is not reliability. Why do these things impact the reliability? So here is a model answer for just using source D. The first bit there is about the content, the second bit there is about the nature, origin and purpose. The underlined parts are where the explanation of reliability happens. Also note that partially reliable, using that language of some parts are, some parts aren't, is essential to the higher parts of the mark scheme. You can't just say it is or is not as if it's a black or white issue. There will be some good bits and some bad bits about any source. So, to recap, you need to consider the reliability of sources' information by comparing it to your own knowledge. You need to evaluate the source's nature, origin and purpose. And you need to do this for both sources. I've modelled with one source, so you'll be getting a maximum of 8 marks. You need to do it for both sources to get 9 or 10 marks.